Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about Carnegie giganteas, or the saguaro cactus's anatomy and physiology. We're going to be going piece by piece, working our way from surface level stuff to something a bit more inwards as we go along. Okay. But first we're going to start off by talking about nursing plants. Now, nursing plants are a vital symbiotic relationship to saguaro saplings initially. Basically, they provide water, nutrients, and shelter from dust storms and monsoons during its earlier stages of development. There are three prominent nursing plants. The Palo Verde, Parkinsonia florida, the ironwood tree, Austria virginiana, and the mesquite tree, Prosopis gladiolosa. Visual characteristics. It's tall and green, typical for most columnar cactuses. Large splines, areoles, used for defense. Up to 4 to 5 arms. They're usually, depending on how much water is stored initially before they begin developing them. They're just used for like extra storage when the core of the saguaro has too much water filled. Basically, they're just extra batteries for when the main one runs out. Callus boots. They're hard to find, but the boots are basically calluses healed over from when animals have made nests in them in the past. And the occasional crest. Now, the crest is a very rare characteristic among saguaros. Around 4,000 in the population have it, and basically it's a visual quirk in which, as you can see here, these fringe crests sort of sprout at the top of cactuses. It's very unique and very bizarre, but it's not enough to classify it as, like, say, a subspecies of saguaro, which is why it still remains as a monotypic species. Right, flowers. Now, seasonally, its anatomy and physiology have different traits and characteristics to them. During the late spring or late April and early May, they will develop and bloom plants. Over 200 of them. And they will attract every kind of pollinator. The most common one is the gray dove, and the least common are bats. They aid in pollinating the reproductive life cycle and starting its next stage, which is fruits. After pollination, the fruits emerge, which are known as bahida, and each fruit has around 12,000 seeds, and depending on how well it's pollinated, it produces up to 100 to 200 of these fruit. Basically, one for each flower. And the seeds have a very, very easy and fast germination period via cotyledons, which are embryonic leaves that are only found during its embryonic stage, but when it becomes a sapling, it's non-existent. Cactuses don't tend to have leaves, but during its embryonic stage, it does. Skin and segments. The skin is waxy and succulent-like. It's designed to help shimmy water down to the roots and into the system. The segments are protected by the spikes, areoles, and the segments are the main storage units for water. If the segments are more defined, then it's dehydrated. If it's less defined, then there are more then they're less defined. Ribs and vascular tissues. Beneath the skin, that's where the water storage tissues come into play. They're designed for water storage. And the vascular tissues are within the columnar, just below the water storage tissues. When exposed, they become ribs, and ribs are used for nests. Basically, as is seen in this picture right here, the birds will burrow, brave the spines or areoles, go through the water storage tissue, and make their home in these ribs. And then when they leave, that's when the boot forms. And this is where the vascular bundle is. Now, the vascular bundle is a distribution network that goes up and down the saguaro for distributing all sorts of things needed for the plant to thrive and survive. Photosynthetic sugars, nutrients from roots, water from also the roots. It's a whole distribution network, also known as the voluminous cortex. Another key part, which has become unfortunately more commonplace in saguaro anatomy and physiology, is bacterial necrosis, otherwise known as arena cacticida. Side effects of it are color loss, tissue decay, black ooze. It's brought on by a number of outside influences, like physical, like human interference, animal interference, vehicular interference, but most prominently dramatic changes in weather, which means climate change, or climate chang, as the presentation erroneously displays. And that's about it. Here are my sites. Overall, the physiology and anatomy is something to behold. It's very unique among desert environments, and just how other organisms interact with said physiological traits. That's it. To whoever watches this, you have a good day and a good night.